Some years ago, I designed a project for a client on the other side of the world. She had just purchased a house in Mount Shasta, California. She had a vision for what it could become. At the time, I was studying her course, Alchemy Academy, which is a whole other story for another time. I asked her, do you need an interior designer? She said yes. And what happened next changed direction of everything.
Her name is Corin Grillo. She's a licensed psychotherapist, a best-selling author, a spiritual teacher, and she had just acquired a property on sacred land at the foot of one of the most powerful mountains in the world, Mount Shasta. A volcano, a vortex, a place people travel to from all over the world to reset, reconnect, and remember who they are. Corin's vision was to transform this house into a retreat centre, a place she called Casa Condor, named for the California condor, a bird that soars above everything, that sees the bigger picture, that carries a medicine of protection, clarity, and transformation. She wanted the space to feel exactly like that. This was the house, a classic American craftsman home, warm, unpretentious, but inside it needed a complete reimagining. Working remotely on a project like this had real constraints. I couldn't walk the land, I couldn't feel the proportions, I couldn't stand in the lounge and see how the light moved through the afternoon, or the daytime, or the morning. What I had were plenty of photos, floor plans, and long conversations with Corin about what she wanted people to feel when they arrived.
So like Mount Shasta is like 20 minutes away. Then Weed is 15 minutes away. There's a town called Weed. It's a massive space, could be used for group gathering. Sometimes, like especially with ayahuasca ceremony, everybody kind of generally sleeps wherever they're laying for the night. So for those ceremonies, eventually I would probably have a yurt that accommodates, more like maybe 20 people for sleeping.
The existing house was warm in spirit and character, but cluttered in its design language. Orange timber cabinetry, decorative cornices, heavy ceiling fans, a lounge and dining room separated by a wall that was like cutting the space in half. It needed to be stripped back and unified, simplified, given a new language entirely. The concept came from the condor itself. I started building a mood board, not from architectural references, but from the bird. Ending, fire, metamorphosis, shedding, soaring. Those were Corin's words, those became my brief. Visually, I landed on a deconstructed mid-century approach. Clean lines, minimal ornamentation, dark timber accents against white walls, sheer floating curtains that would move with the air. The key design move, the one that changed the whole space, was the black timber pelmets and column cladding. The existing structure had columns and beams running through the open plan living areas. Instead of hiding them or painting them out, I leaned into them. I clad them in deep dark timber stain, and then I ran matching black timber pelmets horizontally across all the windows, concealing the curtain tracks and creating a strong visual band that tied the entire space together. This was the move that made everything else make sense. Dark weight from above, white walls and floating shears below, warm timber floors connecting it all. project wrapped, something settled in me that I hadn't expected. I kept thinking about how people responded to the space.
If you are interested in learning about Corin Grillo or her spiritual teachings or learning about her community, I'll put some information in the description below. If you're interested in going on one of her retreats, she has them at different times of the year. There's one actually happening in July, and the time of this filming it is the 1st of June. So I'll put details for that below as well. But Corin has just, during this filming for this, she's listed Casa Condor, the land, which I had no idea it's actually 8 hectares or acres. I'm not quite sure the metric system in America what they use, but here we use acres. Anyway, so Corin has actually listed Casa Condor on HipCamp. So if you go to HipCamp, you can book a space, either camping on the grounds, it's quite cheap, or she has space for a RV/caravan park sites with electricity, etc. And then of course you've got access to bathroom and toilet facilities. So have a look at HipCamp. She's got a couple of options there. You can stay and like the same as a campground. And then she has other options where you can actually get involved in what she's doing with spiritual healing. And then there's some sacred self-tour hikes that she's got. So amazing. I actually am now even more eager to go and visit Mount Shasta. I've never been. So this now gives more opportunity for someone like myself to do a bit more of an economical visit, considering I've got to get there on a plane from Australia. But yeah, if you're interested in those things, just have a look at the description below. I've got all the deets. And thank you for watching.
They'd arrive at Casa Condor carrying whatever they'd been carrying. Sometimes it was trauma or grief, and they'd leave differently, lighter, clearer, more themselves. But it wasn't just the spiritual healing from Corin, it was also Casa Condor, the house. And I realised something I knew from my years of design, but never quite named or put my finger on. It's a space isn't just a backdrop for life or a beautifully aesthetically pleasing room. It's an active participant in your life. It holds people, it shapes how they feel, it makes certain kinds of experiences possible. That realization led me to a question I couldn't stop thinking about. What if I designed a space like this from scratch, not for someone else's vision, but built entirely around the acts of holding people? And that question is what became the Sanctuary Project.
I'm going to create it and document every step as I go. So we're going to look at funding and case studies of different houses, potential houses. We're going to interview wellness practitioners to find out exactly what they would like from a wellness house and studio. We're going to a house hunt, looking at houses once we've narrowed down potential candidates for the wellness house. Going to research retreats, which will be amazing. Looking forward to that one. Even though they're different kind of business model, it's the closest thing to a wellness studio with accommodation attached. I'll take you on the design journey from concept all the way through to final reveal. We'll look at planning, town planning, council, or look at the build as we do the renovation works. I'll take you behind the scenes on the business side of things, the financial model, the discussions with necessary financial partners, and then in the very end we can look at the opening.
and the start of Sanctuary Project. So if you're a designer, a creative, a wellness practitioner, a builder, or someone interested in this, then subscribe as we go along this journey together. See you in the next one.